Thank you very much, Alan, and I'm very pleased to be here today. I'd also like to acknowledge Alan Madden's introduction on behalf of the Gadigal people. Look, I think you should all know about the ACCC, so I'm not going to speak for very long this afternoon because I think the objective of today's session is to engage in a conversation about how we can communicate more effectively, how we can make sure that consumers get a better deal in the communications marketplace. But let me make a few observations. The ACCC is Australia's peak cross-economy consumer protection and competition regulator. We are an independent statutory government authority, and most of our enforcement work and regulatory work is conducted under the Trade Practices Act, as I'm sure you are aware. The purpose of the Trade Practices Act is to enhance the welfare of Australians by promoting competition among businesses. So it's not about protecting competitors, it's about improving competition. It is also designed to promote fair trading by business, and of course, importantly, it provides for the protection of consumers in their dealings with businesses. And we seek to fulfil those objectives through our enforcement work, our compliance work, our work around regulating key infrastructure, whether it's in the telecommunications sector, the energy sector, the water sector, or whether it's work around assessing mergers or other competition issues. We are within the Treasury portfolio, and that's an important issue that goes to Alan's comment about the policy role of these agencies. I think it's important that we keep in mind the role of the particular policy departments that we all deal with. And it hardly needs saying that we have an enormous range of stakeholders that we deal with right across the economy that goes well beyond the telecommunications and communications sector. So how do we deal with some of those issues in terms of setting priorities and finding out what's going on and talking to consumers? Well, for a start, we receive consumer contacts from consumers, a wide range of consumer complaints, well over 100,000. It's been going up by about 60%, so more than 60% over the last 2 years. So that is one source of contact. We have complaints and information from other agencies such as the Telecommunications Industry Ombudsman and ACCAN that we look at and assess and discuss with these other agencies. We have formal consultation through some committees such as our Consumer Consultative Committee. We also have a Small Business Committee. And look, Alan is right in that I think both the consumer members of that committee and the ACCC itself are continually considering ways that we can improve the operation of that committee. How can we get better information from the consumer members of that committee to ensure that we know what's going on in the marketplace, to ensure that we find out ahead of time where some of the risks are and some of the dangers are happening, and how can the consumer members also find out from the ACCC what we're doing, how we're responding, and make sure that they're satisfied with the way that we're dealing with issues. We also have one-on-one meetings, and I think these can be often very valuable in terms of dealing with consumer and other organisations. We undertake our own market analysis, we undertake international liaison. So for example, next week we have the International Consumer Protection Enforcement Network, 40 different consumer protection agencies from around the world meeting in Sydney to look at consumer issues. And of course we regularly issue papers and other decisions for consultation, which we understand, of course, it can often be difficult for consumer organisations to find the resources to comment on these papers. As many of you will know, I've been on the other side of the fence, so to speak, so I know what it's like. But where possible, and in particular where we think those sorts of matters will be of particular interest to consumer organisations, we seek to engage them more directly. I could go on. I could discuss the fact that we're setting up consumer consultation arrangements in relation to the energy sector. There's a lot of work going on in this area at present. But perhaps if I finish just by noting a couple of matters that we've been looking at within the last 12 months in this sector, just on the consumer protection side of our ledger. So let's forget all the work we've been doing on NBN and access disputes and all that side of our work for the moment. I'd just like to quickly run you through some of the consumer protection enforcement outcomes we've had in the telecommunications sector to give you a sense of some of the work that goes on here and perhaps to generate some questions and discussions. For a start, we had the recent multi-party enforceable undertaking with Telstra, Optus and Voda Hutch in relation to a range of marketing practices that we had strong concerns about. Headline terms, the use of phrases such as unlimited or free, phrases such as no exceptions or no exclusions or no catches. And I think one of the very important things about that undertaking is that it collectively got the major players into the room to acknowledge that substantial improvements are needed in terms of the information that's going out to consumers around marketing and advertising, so that we didn't have this pattern of one player being, if you like, picked off while others continue to engage in problematic conduct. We've also had a range of outcomes in relation to mobile premium services. Federal court decisions in relation to Telecom, a Bulgarian content provider. We decided we would test that and pursue it through other jurisdictions. AMV Holdings, a UK content provider, in relation to misleading mobile premium services advertising. And on the same matter, court enforceable undertakings from Pacific and ACP magazines. We took action as well against TMG and obtained federal court orders by consent that it had engaged in misleading and deceptive conduct in relation to advertising for mobile premium service quiz services. We currently have proceedings before the federal court in relation to two different mobile premium services scratchy card promotions, being Clarion Marketing and Star Promotions. We also have federal court outcomes, have achieved federal court outcomes in recent times in relation to Card Call and Tell Pacific for their misleading marketing in relation to international phone cards, with further action underway against another operator. We have obtained enforceable undertakings against Dodo for their wonderful free offers in relation to mobile cap plans, where the cost of plans involving free computers, cash or fuel were actually significantly higher than similar plans without the free offers. We have taken action against TPG for misleading advertising relating to its unlimited cap saver plan, where there actually were a lot of qualifiers and limits on what was actually under that plan. We've taken action against telco companies in relation to warranty issues. M2 Telecommunications, who represented to consumers that they couldn't get refunds in relation to mobile phone problems, and we have further action underway in that area. That is not an exhaustive list, but it gives you a sense of some of the matters that we're seeking to take on in this area. It is a high priority for the ACCC at the moment, and so that is one of the reasons that I'm very pleased to be here today, engaged in this conversation. Thanks, Alan.